We go to the beginning of the sadhana, Cakrasamvara sadhana, and so it begins with the protective sphere, which is called here the three-layered protection sphere of Tummo, because it consists of 3 layers. And so first it begins with the Svabhava, Shuddha Sarva Dhamma Svabhava Shuddha Ham mantra, which means that is Svabhava, Shuddha means all is pure, empty. And so what is pure and empty is Sarva Dharma, which means all phenomena are pure and empty.
That's don't being on the chino, maybe that's it. You don't imagine Alexa. Don't being on the chino, maybe you to give Gundi Darkaki, such a thing that Rinchen Dorje Rinchen Dorje and over the Jetan answer that is some course, Tambo Chamni, some cocomiat. What that Chamni, not the Jiran said, or then Chamba Chanjo Ninja, Chanjo Semtic, some corcum. Or then the Bay Chandas, Yanazo, then Yamnachis in Neja, Unanetel, some the Jiran Retel Jiran sayimba. Or the do char up some Jiran say chapter, Chamni, Chanjo Semkirajimba. What then to say, come not in the Rick said that tell the Karuna Samadi. Rangi Devat, the end of Yada, go Rangi, Pensam Drubian, Simhu Yobano, or that and do know the Yunkos at the end, taking Chamni, some Quarti Tambot. Or Nazu Gonchena, you want to zoom in color, Major Chancho Sams, the zoom in color, Major Chancho Sams, the zoom in some court Dandamera Mambo, or Tina Yashu, Chancho Sam is, or the Zong Shayoa, or the Naji, that's Zambote. Jiranse, the Chamni, some Gokumiachi, Tabe Chandas, Yanazo, Rendon, the Yamnachis are Rendon, such a current, Sasana, such as some Jiranse in Bachi.
So, then on page 3, then it says, from within a state of emptiness, the entire universe arises as the form of the great compassionate Lord, free from any reference point, white like a gunda flower, with 1 face and 4 arms. And 2 main hands are joined at the heart, and the outer 2 hold a lotus and mala. He is adorned with precious ornaments and sits in the Vajra posture. So the great compassionate Lord, that is Chenrizik. So that's the first layer, the first layer of the protection sphere, which is a protection sphere of bodhicitta, of love and compassion, and the sovereign or the Lord of bodhicitta is Chenrizik. So this first layer of the protective sphere, you should think of it like the outer layer. For example, is the place of practice. For example, if you're on a mountain, then you think that this entire place, so this mountain, for example, is Chenrizik. And then all the atomic particles, every dust particle contained within this area, this mountain, for example, also then has the nature of Chenrizik, which is its nature is love and compassion and bodhicitta. And then as a result, everyone dwelling in this place naturally possesses happiness. and possesses the determination, the courage to benefit others. So that's the protection sphere of bodhicitta. And in the Gongchik, it is said that the most supreme protection sphere is bodhicitta. So there's all kinds of different protection spheres, but the best of all of them is bodhicitta. So that's the first layer of the protection sphere. It is chandrisic, and its nature is love and compassion, or bodhicitta. So think that the place of where you practice, like the mountain and so on, is chandrisic by nature. So then on page 4, so that's the second layer of the protection sphere, and that is the wrathful the wrathful protection sphere, and that is the in nature the protector achala. And so there are some who cannot be tamed through peaceful means or through love and compassion, and so they have to be tamed through wrathful means. So then so it says, at his heart, which is my dwelling place, is the wrathful king, the protector Achala, blue like a flax flower, holding a sword in his right hand and the lasso in his left, held in threatening mudra at his heart. Standing on his right foot and placing his left knee on a sun disk seat, his splendorous form outshines the 4 maras. So that is, so the mountain or the place where we practice was chandrisic. And then your house, or your cabin of where you actually practice inside, that is the heart of chandrisic. And that heart of chandrisic, that is the Buddha, the wrathful Buddha Achala. And so we visualize this, the second protection sphere, so that we will not encounter any obstacles to our practice. So the wrathful protection sphere is established for those who cannot be tamed through the peaceful means of love and compassion.
That's a farchi danya then jikan ba so farchi dang ma yi be ka farchi dang ma wa ya de yidam la jiren tempo je yo na jikan ba so ke farchi dang to ma re wa de yu tel de na de rang lu yidam gom ne yidam gom na de farchi me yo pen sho re wa de jidang ga so jiren ya bo se wo tempo gom go da man ze ga ze jiren gom san sam de na de ga sa so go lo ji mi shi ma wa wa de yu ga so de so what is around yidam da na pamuri no pamura gomdina or the zero gomde juntu gomgo shola juntu gomdina you can rak farchi tan to mares or da zidon nga zo nyamna chine da zanga nyamna chi ha samsang farchi di si yung gres de de so gon so ke chimbores hotel de na ten rindo dikan so mo pare re chun de dikan so mo so kya re Jidang da ka ju ko na yedam ma spa so pa mo da wa sha ti so na sha jikan so kan bom na yedam ra so me pa mo mix ja so ma an yedam gums
so and then the third protection spheres on page 5 and so at Achala's heart upon Adharma source lotus and sun I appear as Vajrayana, a rat with 2 faces and 2 arms, holding a curved knife, a skull cup, and a khatvanga. with the right leg bent and the left one outstretched, I abide in the posture of royal enjoyment. So this is the third protection layer. And so here it says, so that's the visualization of oneself as the Edom. So inside that heart, inside the heart of a chala, you visualize yourself as the Edom. You are as the Edom. And so here it says you appear as Vajravarahi. But actually, this comes from the collected works of Chigden Sumgön. And in the original of Chigden Sumgön's collected works, it doesn't say Vajravarahi, but it just says you visualize your Edom deity, so whichever deity that is. But now since the main Edom deity in the Kagyu lineage is Vajravarahi, and that's also probably why it was added here. But mainly the point is that you visualize yourself as the Edom deity also for protection. Because it is said that when your visualization, that's the generation stage, when your visualization of the deity is stable, then worldly gods, spirits and so on, cannot cause any obstacles. And so obviously the wisdom gods would never cause obstacles anyways. But so if your visualization is firm, then those worldly spirits and gods, they cannot cause you any obstacles. So that's the point also of visualizing the third layer of one's own Edom deity. And so when we visualize the Edom, when we practice the generation stage, it's also important that it is clear and that we habituate to it so it becomes stable. So otherwise, if that's not the case, even if we are just staying in a retreat and we practice, then it's kind of questionable. Not so sure whether it's really beneficial that way. If the visualization, if one's focus isn't so clear. So in any case, here we visualize the Edom, which is Vajravarahi, clearly, and also it is necessary to always sustain this awareness of the Edom deity at all times, and then no worldly god can cause any obstacles. And so sometimes when we practice the Vajrayana, we may encounter some obstacles. And that's why it's important to establish a protection sphere. And so this three-layer protection sphere, as it says here in the end, was written by Chigden Sumgön.
Mazu ngima samdi di da ngaden zo gong du chakchen gal dingen ji wang ko ne jode he chakza chimbo ne ji di gang na de gom ja chen chu wa de du de la chakza chimbo kum ya ji le ngo wa de yo re da de gong ne ji bo na pe chang ngaden chang do re de du be sa bon da za chimbo re ngaden ngaden ngaden
What?
That's a song one the long tree mambo the young around so some not don't on something chimbo mina tam say nyam cha yung zigri jidan jiba mambo yung zigri or ten do to tam say nyam cha pa jang to ya or to sa shimbo re so re or te so want to be is or ten do that just china dixat they don't have to them jog on the CT that
So then on starting on page 6 is the Samadhi Empowerment. We will not go into much depth here, just in brief. So the Samadhi Empowerment, actually in brief, it really contains the practice of the fivefold path of Mahamudra. So that is, it begins with the motivation of bodhicitta, and so then there is a visualization of the Edom, and then supplicate the Guru. And then for the main part, we rest in Mahamudra, and so on. So actually when we were doing retreat, then we actually practiced the fivefold path of Mahamudra, also on the basis of the Samadhi Empowerment. So then, that in the part of Mahamudra we stayed for a long time, in this how it is described in the Samadhi Empowerment, and so normally when we take this Samadhi Empowerment, it is like receiving like a self-empowerment, taking an empowerment. And the benefit of that is that all kinds of samaya breaches and transgressions are purified through reciting or practicing this Samadhi Empowerment. And so in the Vajrayana, we receive various empowerments and transmissions and teachings. And so because we have received so many, it's possible that we sometimes transgress or we breach our samayas of the Vajrayana. And it is said that by practicing the Samadhi Empowerment, these breaches and transgressions can become purified. So that should suffice for the Samadhi Empowerment, and then we move on to the Cakrasamvara practice. So then you can turn to page 15, the sadhana.
That's a Jundev, that Jundev, Jadon Dudunda, Dragon Jamon Bemejansen. Sicherlich. Bemejansen, sicherlich. The cheat in that is on the Jundev, the Kitchen as you bought Zoradan, also. So the Chimbo to Huang was short of Yara. The Yungeritas, also the Jubilama Zoran de Pina. What the Jundev Kitchen Bochi, depends on Juban, the Jubicho Sap says on your rate. Malari. And Malari is on Mungazet 6 Machid, Juban, one such is so one. I just Chimbo Marit, Star Chimbo Marit, Jubat, one such Chimbo is Malari. What is on your what he do? Or the Lama as a Jubilama is some or Radam, Chilam Jo to where is.
So on page 15 is the short lineage supplication, which was written by Beme Gyabsen. And it is very important to supplicate to the lineage, because it is said now if we supplicate to the lineage masters, as a result we will realize Mahamudra. So that's why it's very important. Also Thigden Sumgön had said that a dharma that possesses lineage is most profound. And also Miller Rebbe had said, I am not so precious, but what is truly precious and incredible is my lineage. So it is said that when we supplicate to the gurus of the lineage, then their blessings will enter our mind.
That is Jatanti and Dorje Sambaja Yada. The truth Yom Dorje Nimaja and the Rindom. Or Jatanti, Tangas of them show Yamnachi and Dorji Kaduna, Zito, Landote, Yamnachi Vinegala, what the Dorji Kitchimbo, Rezondo, ended. That Dorji to the Chinapsi, I think others of Tontangi Hakumas. Not in Bunga daughter. Oh, the Mamma.
So then on the next page, on page 16, is the consecration of the Vajra and the bell. And so for that, you visualize the Vajra, for instance, from Hon transforms into Vajra Sattva, and so forth. And then the bell, Vajra Dopa, and then in the end is the mantra. And so it is actually said that throughout one's practice of the Cakrasamvara, one should actually always hold the Vajra and the bell in one's hand the entire time. And here in the end, the mantra on page 17. So this is the Vajra and bell blessing mantra, but Drupon says I don't know the exact meaning of each of those words.
The Drupchö Yang Dupa Rasi he chawa sho so so da den cho da lang ji dang Drupchö yore juk som yore lenje yore da lang an do wa den dan den ga zo den cho lang ge Drup ta res o Drup ta da xin de du pa sa du du dong yang ning si yang da ning bo ra se ba se ton da se wo yo ba wo ten ru da se da ga zo sho so se se zong sho sa ri ka jang dong.
So then on page 19, we come to the beginning of the actual sadhana. So it's called the short sadhana of the 5 Cakrasamvara deities, called illuminating the innermost heart. So there's different sadhanas of different numbers of Cakrasamvara deities. For example, there are 16 Cakrasamvara deities. There's also 13. There's also the co-emergent and the single Cakrasamvara, and then there is the 5 Cakrasamvara deities. And so this sadhana here is the short, brief sadhana of the 5 Cakrasamvara deities, and it is a very concise sadhana. Concise also here means that while it is concise in words, it is complete and clear in meaning.
Da nga zo de da xin na da ze sang ji jum den de chu mang bo zong ti ba che chung mang bo wo de du ti ba qian bo kong ji ti ba che chung che ba sim chi yin zong yo la gong ji de du ti ba qian bo kong ji de de ne ti ba qian bo la dong nga ni se yo ba yang de nga kong yin ba ji do tang nga che ba wang yi se wo de wang de nga le sa ba de mi do mi ji wang da chu ji chi se la go ba de de mi do wang de nga le yu ba ji o ti ji nga kong ji nga la che ju ju nen jo la na mi bi ju se xie yu bi na la nen jo la na mi bi ju yin ba ji o nen jo la na mi bi ju la hong pa ju ma ju se da hong ka xie ni mi ju se de xiang do ti ji du ne ma ju yin ba ji.
So and so then in the beginning, where does this practice really fit in the whole body of the Buddha's teachings? So the Buddha taught various different teachings and different levels of practices and the vehicles. So what is a vehicle? It said in the Gongchek that what makes the difference between the vehicles is the mind generation, so the motivation, bodhicitta. So that is one. So this one belongs to the higher vehicle. And then within that, there's also the teachings of the sutras and the tantras. And of these two, this one belongs to the tantras. Also it is said in the Gongchik that the difference between sutras and tantras is the empowerment. And so in the tantras, we receive the ripening empowerment and the liberating instructions. So this ripening empowerment is unique to the tantric teachings. And so then within those tantric teachings, there are different classes of tantra. So there's 4 main classes of tantra. There is the Kriya Tantra, the Charya Tantra, the Yoga Tantra, and the Anuttara Yoga Tantra, which is the highest Yoga Tantra. So of these 4 classes of Tantra, this one belongs to the Anuttara Yoga Tantra, or the highest Tantra class. And then within the Anuttara Yoga Tantra, there is a threefold division. So there is the father tantras, the mother tantras, and some say there's also the non-dual tantras, and of these 3, this one belongs to the mother tantras.
Edom ya fu ya to ma chung chung je yora to so fu ya de chi de Tsok yoji chas nang chu sen na ta se du le ga ba le ze go shu ren so nang chu la gu ra nang chu de ke xin bo re kong zu lam do de mo gen ba to lam do de ja ga de nge ma chung ga ren mo ka du na na mo gen ba ta so nge ma chung ga ren mo chi la da shu de ka du na nang chu so so men ru an le de de chen hab de ge se ya de nang chu de ke xin bo yi zong ge se chen hab wa de nang chu de da nang chu de ko ge se wa de ne da do je chi ko ge ran da ma re so chi den even do so de den to de wo no wa da ten du yam na chi ya che chen da wo so tang bo se chi chang wo re se wa ten du chi
So then it begins in the small print. First, the practitioner pays homage to the guru. So it says Namo Guru, so homage to the guru. And then a yogi who wishes to practice the sadhana of the 5 Cakrasamvara deities. So now the order of the syntax here is a little different in English and Tibetan, but so such a practitioner should first arrange in front of an image or like a tanka of the deity. One arranges the preliminary dharma, so there's different dharmas. So one arranges the preliminary dharma, and then there is an outer dharma, which is later. The outer dharma is the dharma which is later brought outside, and then there is the inner dharma, which stays inside. So that is those small little like balls, so like pellets, which are then offered to the Edom at a later point. And then one arranges the feast, the Tsok substances, and then the inner offering. The inner offering, which is also here arranged, the inner offering, is very important actually. So the inner offering is this kapala skull cup that is in front of you on the desk, for example here. And it's very important for the practice. For example, some of the older people have said that in the old days, Chungwa Rinpoche would always have his inner offering kapala in front of him. Whenever people would come to receive his blessings, he would give them blessings out of this kapala, this skull bowl in front of him. So that really shows that it's very important. It's very important to have that. And then also one should have arranged a vajra and a bell and a damaru drum. So, and then also sit on a comfortable cushion. So these are all the criteria, conditions, prerequisites that need to be arranged first. And then there's one more additional thing that's not mentioned in the text, but what one should also have is a main dharma of Cakrasamvara, and that dharma represents Cakrasamvara and should always stay. It remains on the shrine.
Gundo Tsok Ngombochi, or then the Sheje, Cha, Jan Zom, Chewa Jungzi Zedere, that Yardam de Rera, or the Ji, that Jan Zom, Sheje, Chani, or Sharpshe, and not Sharpni, or that into Sharpni, or Toba Gambo Nachu, or Sharshi there. Really, Chani, Sharpni. The Yom Dorje Pang, the Gundo Manmoya, the Koni, the Yamion Barco there. Or the Jiji, the Zangang, the Shang there. What interests was that's in Debgo. That's on a Lagumtang Garendo, because a Gigi Jonchi says it. Dorje Sumchi says it. Chuashi says it. Chua Sumchi said Dorje Shi Serwa. What Techi? What did Mojang Achi said to the Gumtang? What in Antan Gigi Jonchi ski Yata, Jayatri. Or ten do ten Jikan to Conche not as on May. Lala Jikan Job and Isab says it may. What things are that had Gigi Yazia. What ten do? Or that a kitchen boy sat on Boya Haji. so ta ji go ya ta jum sen yang yo sari ta tambo ta ma chi na dan deri ma do si chinji lab gari don ma chen hap chi go re den ta me lu ja ke do si don ma to chinji lab to go ma re sa wo te lu so so te ne ye dam se wo chi na den do si chinji lab don ma chinji lab dan chö ba chinji lab deri ma ma bon ro go wa wo ti chang ma de chen la chi to ya de pen ge re sa.
And then one visualizes oneself as the deity. So it says, in an instant, I appear in the form of the co-emergent transcendent conqueror. So you visualize yourself with the form as Cakrasamvara. And Cakrasamvara is blue in color, has one face and 2 arms and 2 legs. And then 3 eyes. And has like a slightly open mouth and with bared fangs. And he is embraced by the consort Vajrayana, who is red in color. And so the Yaba and the Yum stand upright as they embrace. So we should visualize that clearly. And so, generally speaking, so there is different ways of generating or visualizing a deity. There is the instantaneous visualization or miraculous visualization. Then secondly, there is the a 3-step visualization called the 3 rituals. And then there is a 4-step visualization called the 4 Vajras. And then there is a 5-step visualization called the 5 manifestations of enlightenment. And so of these 4, here we appear in an instant. So in an instant I appear. So it's an instantaneous visualization. And Thigten Somgen said in the Gongchik that the instantaneous generation of the deity is profound. And there's also a reason of why we visualize ourselves as the deity right in the beginning of the practice. And that is because right after that, what follows is the consecration or the blessing of the dorma and the nectar and the offering substances. And so since we have to bless or consecrate these substances, if we wouldn't visualize ourselves as the Edom deity, if we would just be ordinary, as an ordinary person, we could not confer these blessings. We couldn't consecrate these substances. And so that is why, in order to consecrate the dorma, the offerings, and the nectar, we have to visualize ourselves as the Edom deity right in the beginning.
但今天总共这种多，搿种是呢，他唐不光比那看来了我拉出着马几话就是，是我光过的是，但马几呢，这嘛的往说着是，你唐不是我特别的开心不的是，我当我做这我过面，唐不来了我是啦，有嘛的，第三老当过，三八成就有呢，当听上我做八嘛，有了8成就也不当过呢，下呢也2发呢嘛下发我三老当没，我做的第是也是三的下就了去。 The Yane Yan Segum Jena, this gone to ya, on Pinchosari.
Thigten Somgen. So Thigten Somgen also had said that when we first visualize the deity, we shouldn't be like in a way complacent, so just kind of rushing through it and not really paying much attention, thinking it's all fine. But it's actually important to really pay attention and to visualize really clearly and to focus on the detail, not just to gloss over the deity. Because if we do that, we form a bad habit. And then later, because of that, it will be more difficult to really visualize clearly. And of course, clear visualization in the beginning is not easy. So we have to really think about it, really reflect on the deity for some time. And what helps with that is, for example, to have an image of the deity that you can look at. And nowadays, there are many images of deities available. So you have a nice image of the deity in front of you, you look at that, and then you you focus on different parts of the deity. So you can work yourself from the upper part of the deity's head to the lower part, and from the lower part to the upper part, and so on. Focus on all the details, and then sometimes you close your eyes and have this image appear in your mind. And so in this way you habituate having this image that you have visualized again and again appear in your mind. So it's important to form such a habit. Then on what is it, starting on page 20 then, yeah. Page 20 begins the consecration of the nectar. And so so in here so that refers now, we cleanse the inner offering first. So the nectar here is the inner offering. The nectar contained in the inner offering, which is this kapala right in front of you. And so when you recite that mantra here first, Kenda Roa Hung Hung Pet, you visualize in the following way. So while you're reading that, you're sprinkling some base nectar, some base water onto those inner offerings, this kapala in front of you. And you visualize the dakini, Kenda Roha. Kenda Roha is the dakini that emerges from the hung at your heart, and she's dakini red in color. I'm holding in her right hand a curved knife and a skull cup in her left hand, and she sends away all hindrances and obstacles that somehow pollute these the inner offerings. So emerging from your heart, she chases them all away. And so not only does she chase them away, she also basically doesn't allow them to ever come back. So she kind of sends them out and then blocks them from ever coming back. And then she returns and dissolves back into your heart. And then for a moment you should rest in a non-dual state of bliss and emptiness. So the mantra here, Kanda Rohe, is in Tibetan Dumjema, is one of the dakinis. And then the mantra begins with Om and ends with Hung Hung Pet. And so in general that there are many different meanings depending on what mantra belongs to. But here in this mantra, the Om and the Hung Hung Pet mean that all obstacles and hindrances are being sent away.
that's a also logic Dzambhala so ba logic chigu maris ko logic tabariste tabaten was I silence or then that the six to battle make go the six to battle make the that's the me hang on cho songs at tambo me hang on cho ne lung sem tang de waking on these je de gan number sha go this lung sem ni je ne de waking on these number sha what china den tamen on yet jang to gres tamen on yet ba do to ya da ma da be ka se ma da jang we ta ne tan ba no ta cha gres ka sen ton ba te par jang son ne da ma da yo ma ro ya ma da fin it pa jang ya o da ne ga so what cha gres on do ba.
And then the next mantra, so you purify all grasping phenomena with Om Svabhava Shuddha Sarvadhamma Svabhava Shuddhaham. And so, as we said, this is the meaning of this mantra is that all phenomena are naturally pure and empty. And naturally also means that the emptiness is not created, it's not a fabricated emptiness, but it's already by nature, all phenomena already by nature are empty and also pure. So it's not that at first they're impure and then like a vessel, like a bowl, they have to be cleaned, but because they're empty by nature, they are also naturally pure. And so here we are, when we recite this, we focus our mind on the nectar in the skull. And so first, after reciting this mantra, then you rest your mind in a non-referential, unconceptual state of bliss and emptiness. Everything becomes empty and pure. And as a result of such reflection, at the outset, ordinary perceptions will become purified. And so how they become purified, how we see that what is impure actually isn't impure, but is pure, is because of emptiness. It's because when we purify all into emptiness, when we see that all is empty, in the state of emptiness, there are actually no concepts of pure and impure.
Tene da dombe ngale lume toji den to ale gaba la yang chen ja che na to zong xiang do ta nga zo. Da de da de domba jiang xiao le, domba ting ang so du ci ko sa de da du ci ta ka xiao se sa jie yo ra. Wo tra la da yam yi ge yam ngom bo xia ji song zang, yam ngom bo se ho. Da ri gaba da xia yo na da domba jiang sa song. Domba jiang sa le yo ma ra se dombe ngang li so. Ji du den yi ge yam ngom bo se. Da ya la. Opsia je sonzam. O te par i게 te par shule an chi ti ti long jing kor. Long i게 te par shune long jing kor. Da shu da ro shu so go xiao de na yi. Shu go xiao de na yi. Gor gor jie ka ran de de. Jie ka ro de yo la shu de. O te jie ka de ran de de. O da ti jing kor le te yang ki chen de. O te ne ye yong ni de fa dian se na de. Ye yong so ni la ti fa dian se den do tin lu se yo wa ta ka fa dian se nga zo. Som da yo ra re da ji jian da se yo ra da. O den ju yo ba. Fa dian. Ye yong ni la. Yam ki chen long song ro wa yam te. Yam ki chen de. Ti ye yong ni la ta so ni la fa dian ni yo ba. So ni la fa dian ni yo ba. De fa dian so yo du. Da yo song zang fa dian de yo song zang bu se la de sa.
So then, from the state of emptiness appears wind, fire, and the hearth of skulls. So first there appears wind. And so if you've purified all into emptiness. And so we have said the focus is where the kapala is, the inner offering, right? So since everything has become emptiness, so this inner offering here, this kapala, has become emptiness. So at the moment, there is no kapala with the inner offering. So it's just emptiness. And so, but at that spot where the kapala would be, that's where you first visualize from this state of emptiness a yam syllable. So at this spot of the kapala, first appears a yam. Yam is blue in color, and it represents the wind element, and it has the shape of like a half crescent, a half circle shape, like a bow shape, of which the straight part is facing toward you. And so the yam is the seed of the wind element. And so this bow-shaped mandala of the wind, on the left and the right corners, it has like fluttering banners. There's two on each side. There is a banner, and through the wind element, these banners begin to flutter. So then next is fire. So there appears wind and fire. So on top of that, and then the wind, this bow-shaped wind, then appears a ram syllable, which represents the fire element. The ram syllable is red in color. Then the ram syllable melts into light and forms triangular shaped fire mandala, of which the pointed part is facing toward you, and at the center of it is marked with a ram syllable. And so there are it's blazing in fire, and so the fire mandala has the three corners, a triangular shape. The three corners represent the three kayas. And the three corners are also marked with the syllables Om, Ah, and Hung. And then these become, it says then here, the hearth of skulls. So these three syllables turn into three human heads, which serve as the base of a hearth, like a kind of a fireplace. And the skulls are facing inward. And so maybe it's possible that somebody here listening is new to the Vajrayana, and maybe this terminology might seem a little bit strange. We're speaking about like those 5 kind of nectars, for example, or human heads and things like that. But all of that has a meaning. For example, the heads, the severed heads, represent the severing, the cutting off of the conceptuality, the conceptual mind. So each of these symbols here has a very specific meaning.
톰직파세나 카레세나 토바도 줘 망보진도 가시 줘 비오 말에 다 톰직파 셀라 그래 어떻게 야요 톰직파 이봐 네 가게 내려 좀 뭐죠 내려마 매 가야 매봐 야 가야 매방 뭐마 요사마 이 충충요 받아 가게 충충요 요사 매방 뭐마 요나 매나 요래다 지세용에 야 되게 만도 네 어다 비제 매봐 요사리 어다 매봐지 어때네 제가 디게 톰직파 어디 통일 미비 정말 톰직파로 와 어디 체바처럼 하면 되는데 체바요라 토바처럼 하면 되는데 어떤 수요 바지
And then so now we have said those three human heads make this hearth of skulls here. And it is said that what kind of severed human heads are they? So it says that that's up to you. You can either think that they are already dried or that they are just freshly severed and still like wet. So that's up to you. And then on this from arises a vast and wide kapala. So the is white, and it represents the naturally unborn nature. So first there is a white and then that dissolves into light, and then that light becomes this vast and spacious, this white kapala, this skull. You should think of it as endlessly vast. So no matter how much content, whatever you want to pour in it, it is inexhaustible. It is endless. Anything will fit within this kapala. It is vast because it really represents the infinity of the mind. And so this kapala is red in the inside, which represents bliss, and it is white on the outside, which represents emptiness. And then the kapala also, there's different kinds of kapala. So kapala is a skull cup, and there's all kinds of different skull cups. So ordinary skull cups would have a lot of lines in it, but this kapala, like a perfect kapala used for these ritualistic purposes, doesn't have any lines. So it is an immaculate kapala, is one without any lines. And this immaculate, lineless quality of the kapala represents the union of bliss and emptiness. And so this kapala, the front part of the kapala is facing toward you.
근데 다 되게 나기로 나그 우스다 멀리 chechu 메로리아스는 konda 온 뭐지? 뭐지는 익사 다 뭐지? 우스 멀리 chechu 메로리아다. 어제 샤르트 베도 chechen 샤르킨 도나. 어제 다 로랄 베테 chechen 시야답도 안티나 시야답도 다서 신바통 원보리 손데 시야답 신도 베로리아 지금 원보는 근데 로레 락사트 젠 좀마세 스나노 제르키나 스나노 세오나 스나노 요라 레잘 이렇다 다 노트데 슈리 창샘세다 세다 마로 마로라 지는 세세는 소리를 소는 거래 세세진도 소리 마로는 거래 근데 장도 대바 무치요라 어떤 데마다 요즘때 체 말이로 말 대바 무치다 어다 제단테 다 드승 아슬람도데 제단 샤가 드승 아도 통탐바 마다위네가 당아도 샤가 드승 안 통 다비네가라 자바레가 용가 어떤 총쇼사리 어제지 니는 다비네가라 데리 마다바테서 남토스 바장야치 어다 텐트 펜쇼사리 아주 다 마다니 이제 송직 남토만 보제 용거와 我的从这南到处爬江了，我这是那种通过呢，都是叫呢，我的都是新西兰都是叫呢，我的车人嘛的你没帮你们俩就是空边着下的，我这做了偏头有啥的意思。
And then inside this Kapala, so it says, are the syllables Bi, Ra, Ma, Mu, and Shu, which arise from these arise the 5 nectars. At the center, so the order again of these syllables is a bit different now, but at the center is the Mu, so the Mu syllable, which represents, so at the very center of the Kapala, right, which represents the urine, and its color is blue, like lapis lazuli. And then at the eastern direction is the syllable B, so B-I, the first one. And this has the color of a crystal and white, and its nature is feces. Then in the southern direction is the syllable Ra, so R-A. And that represents the rakta, or the blood, and it has the color of refined gold. And in the western direction is the syllable Su, which is the last one here, S-U, which is red in color, like crimson, more like orangey, right, crimson colored, and its nature is bodhicitta, essence, or a drop, bodhicitta drop. And then in the north is the syllable Ma, so the M-A, which represents brains, and it has the color of like silverish mercury. And so these are called the 5 nectars. And there's the 5 nectars and the 5 kinds of flesh. And this is how we see those substances from an impure perspective. When our mind is impure, what we see is these 5 liquids and 5 kinds of flesh. But when our perception becomes purified, then what we see is actually the union of the male and the female 5 dhyani Buddhas. And so these substances are used in order to purify our ordinary concepts. So because we see things in a dualistic way as pure and impure, we develop all kinds of thoughts in our mind. And so these substances are used in order to purify these dualistic thoughts of subject and object. And so a yogi with higher levels of practice, they can actually, when they consecrate these 5 nectars, these 5 liquids, then these 5 liquids actually transform into real nectar. And then as a result of that, that nectar then has the power to really extend one's life, lead to longevity and good health and so on. Also, it increases one's practice.
The shallow quality Walang Shak. Walang Shana Hochi. Or the that one of the good Chisha. No. Shallow. I don't know the good Chisha. Chisha the Marwana. Good little what she or the Nobjant, the Hardy, Lamboshi, Shakarwan, cautious at it. Then the Chanja, that they shall. Jankanovci. Or that the Zetas did the Zetas or Yagitanjiba. You get the interest of your landing, or the Shanga de Lina landing, interest of Yuba, or Semba G or a change laboris, Wata ti jil da jang do bar som se ro. Jang wa da do bar som de ne ti jinam xia. Tsu ta yung gre. Wa ina da tu su xira ja sa re. Jidang tsara di nga as lo ka se hong drum zhe wa. Wata ti hong drum se hong te jidang qi na hong te me ju be sang re. Hong te me ju be sang ji. Drum te namba na zi sang ji. Then a te ren jian ju me ji. As lo. Drum wata hong drum a ro. Ya zin te ren jian ju me ji. Zeng se la fiu san zeng te wo pa me ji. Kant tong yu chu ba. Wo ti sang le wo de. Wo da yang de sing de sang de jian de de. De yi xin a ran ji re se. Yi xin a wo xi. Ran ji no. Wo da de qin de zhe ma lai tian da.
So then, on page 21, then are the 5 kinds of flesh or meats. They arise also from 5 syllables, and again the order is a bit different here. So first at the center is the syllable na, so na, and that represents, so that transforms into a human flesh, and is red in color. Then in the southeast is the syllable go, so go, that is black in color and represents the cow's flesh. Then in the southwest is the ku syllable, so ku, the last one here, which is red and represents the dog's flesh. And then in the northwestern direction is the syllable ha, so ha here, and it's white and it represents the elephant flesh. And then in the northeast is the syllable, what is it? The last one, da, so da, which is green, and it represents the horse flesh. So then all of these syllables of the 5, and previously the 5 liquids or nectars and the 5 kinds of flesh, they stand, so each of these syllables stands on top of its corresponding substance, and so all of these syllables are standing upright. And so this is how we should reflect when we consecrate the nectar. And then later that it is consecrated then through what it says here, purifying, realizing, and flaring. But before that, it says all of these are marked, so these syllables or these substances are marked with hum, brum, tim, and kam. And they represent the 5 Buddha families. The syllable hung is the seed of the Buddha Akshobhya. The syllable brum is the seed syllable of Buddha Vajrayana. Syllable is the seed syllable of the Buddha Ratnasambhava. The syllable jim is the seed syllable of Buddha Amitabha. And the syllable kam is the seed syllable of the Buddha Amoghasiddhi. So these 5 Buddha families, or 5 Buddhas, also what they really represent is their true nature is the 5 kinds of primordial wisdom. Then we stop here.
We'll do dedication prayers in the yellow prayer book on page 28. May the teachings of the great Drupon Ratna Shri, Master of Interdependence, Omniscient Lord of Dharma, who has seen all knowable things, be upheld until the end of psychic existence through study, practice, hearing, contemplation, and meditation. Your 1,000 arms are the 1,000 wheel-turning kings. Your 1,000 eyes are the 1,000 Buddhas of this fortunate eon. Your love is boundless like space. I supplicate to the Bodhisattva Chenrezig. Om Shri Benza He
Om Shri Benzo Rurugo Be Nagene Zola Savaram Sova Om Shri Benzo Rurugo Dagene Zola Savaram Sova.
Many of you have asked what mantra to accumulate, so the one that Lama Bunima just chanted is the one you accumulate. It's the essence mantra. Please join us back at 2 p.m. for our next session.